You know what? I have been working the docks of Station Theta 9 for about 6 cycles now, and I thought I had seen everything. Every species, every type of cargo, every kind of fool who thought they could run goods through Korvath territory without paying tribute. My name is Vexcor, and I am what you might call an independent contractor for the Korvath Syndicate. Enforcer if you want the fancy title. Thug if you want the honest one. The job is simple, really. Ships come in, we explain the local customs, they pay their fees, everyone goes home happy. Well, everyone except the people paying, but that is not my problem. The thing is, most species get it. Throxians, they grumble but they pay. Piltharians, they negotiate, we meet somewhere in the middle. Done. Zenith traders, they already have the credits ready before we even show up because they are smart like that. Then there are humans. I had heard stories, sure, everyone had. Wild tales about these pink-skinned bipeds from some backwater system called Sol. Supposedly they were crazy, unpredictable, dangerous. But you know how stories get exaggerated, right? Every new species that joins the galactic community gets the same treatment. Big talk, scary rumors. And then you meet them and they are just another bunch of merchants trying to make a living. So when the human cargo hauler Defiant Spirit docked at Bay 17, I figured it would be just another easy collection. My crew, Torvin and Kless, they were with me. Torvin is this massive Ergothian, all muscle and scales. Looks like he could punch through a bulkhead. Kless is smaller, wiry, but he has got those Zithran nerve stingers in his fingers that can drop most beings in seconds. Me? I am somewhere in the middle. Not the biggest, not the scariest, but I have got a mean streak and a reputation that does most of my work for me. We strolled down to the cargo bay like we owned the place. Because let us be real here, we kind of did. The docking master had already sent word that the ship's captain was unloading personally, which was perfect. Face to face is always better for these things. The cargo bay door was wide open, and there she was, Captain Riley Torres, according to the manifest, human female, average height for their species, dark hair pulled back in what they call a ponytail, wearing a worn flight jacket over basic cargo gear. She was moving containers on a loader, completely focused on her work, like we were not even there. That should have been my first warning sign. Torvin stepped forward first, because that is what Torvin does. He is the intimidation, I am the negotiation. You human. He growled in that deep rumble that usually makes people go pale. This station has fees, protection fees. You want your cargo to arrive safely at your ship, you pay. Riley did not even look up, just kept working the loader, stacking containers with practiced efficiency. Station fees are already paid. Checked with the docking master this morning. Receipt is in the ship's log if you want to verify. Oh, she was good, calm, professional, completely missing the point. I stepped forward, putting on my best reasonable voice. Those are docking fees, Captain Torres. What my associate here is referring to are the local security fees. You know how it is, station this size, lots of things can go wrong. Cargo gets lost, containers get damaged, ships develop mysterious malfunctions. We make sure none of that happens to your vessel. She stopped then, shut down the loader, turned around and really looked at us for the first time. Her eyes were this weird blue-green color, and they had this quality to them. Not scared, not angry, just calculating, like she was doing math in her head about something. So you are running a protection racket, she said, flat as a hull plate. Got it. And if I refuse? Tovin cracked his knuckles. Kless flexed his fingers, letting those little stingers catch the light. I smiled, my best smile, the one that shows too many teeth. Well, Captain, accidents happen. Would be a shame if your ship could not leave when you wanted it to. Riley Torres looked at each of us in turn. Then she did something I was not expecting at all. She laughed. Not a nervous laugh, not a scared laugh, a genuine amused laugh, like we had just told her the funniest joke she had heard all week. You guys are adorable, she said and went back to her loader. Adorable. She called us adorable. Torvin looked at me. Kless looked at me. I looked at Riley Torres and felt my temper starting to heat up. This was not how this worked. This was not how any of this worked. Time to escalate. That is the thing about this job, you have to be willing to push until they break. Everyone breaks eventually. Captain Torres, I do not think you understand the situation you are in right now. She kept loading containers. Oh, I understand perfectly. 3 local tough guys trying to shake down the new arrival. Tale as old as time, song as old as rhyme and all that. Here is the thing though. I have been running cargo for 8 years now. Hit stations in 14 different sectors. You know how many times I have dealt with this exact same situation. I do not care. I said, and I meant it. What I care about is whether you are going to be smart and pay the fee, or stupid and find out what happens when you do not. Finally, she stopped working, shut down the loader completely, hopped off, and walked toward us. She did not strut, did not swagger, just walked like she was going to the cafeteria for lunch, stopped about 2 meters away, hands on her hips, head tilted slightly to one side. Let me ask you something, she said, voice still conversational. Do you actually want the money? Or are you just enjoying the power trip? Kless hissed at that, literally hissed. His species does that when they are angry. You have got a mouth on you, human. Maybe we teach you some respect before we take your credits. Riley's expression did not change. Sure, you could try that, but here is the thing, and I want you to really think about this. I am standing here completely calm, while 3 armed thugs are threatening me. Does that seem like normal behavior to you? You know what? She had a point. Most people would be scared, or at least nervous. They would be backing away or trying to negotiate, or calling for station security. Riley Torres was just standing there like we were discussing the weather, but I had a reputation to maintain. Maybe you are just stupid. Maybe, she agreed cheerfully. Or maybe I know something you do not. Torvin had heard enough. He reached for her, those massive hands going for her shoulders to give her a nice hard shove. You know, to really drive home the point about who was in charge here. She moved. Not fast. Exactly. Efficient. Stepped to the side, caught his wrist, did something with her hips and leverage, and suddenly Torvin was stumbling forward, off balance. He caught himself before he fell, but the damage to his pride was done. A human half his size had just made him look clumsy. Do not touch me, Riley said, still in that same calm, almost friendly tone. I am asking nicely. This was getting out of hand. Time to remind everyone that I was not just muscle and threats. I reached into my jacket and pulled out my favorite toy. A plasma grenade, Korvath military issue. Enough punch to turn this entire cargo bay into a crater. The casing glowed with that distinctive orange light that meant it was armed and ready. Riley looked at the grenade, looked at me, raised one eyebrow. Really? She asked. A grenade? In a station cargo bay? Are you trying to scare me or commit suicide? Depends on whether you are going to pay, I said, keeping my voice steady. The grenade was heavy in my hand, warm, pulsing with barely contained energy. Because I am thinking maybe you need a demonstration of how serious we are. She crossed her arms. Okay, demonstrate. Wait, what? You heard me, Riley said, and there was something in her voice now. Not fear. Something else. Amusement. You pulled out a grenade to scare me. So scare me. Let us see what you have got. Kless took a step back. Smart guy Kless. He could feel which way this was going even if I could not yet, but I was committed now. You do not pull out a weapon and then back down. That is worse than not pulling it out in the first place. You think I will not use this? I said, holding the grenade up where she could see it clearly. You think this is a bluff? I think you are a small-time station thug who makes his living scaring cargo haulers, Riley said, and her voice was flat now, all the friendliness gone. I think you have probably never actually used that thing in your life. I think you are hoping I am scared enough of the idea of it that I will pay up and you can go about your day. Am I wrong? She was not wrong, but she was also trapped in here with us, and I had a grenade, and there was no way this human was actually crazy enough to call my bluff. No way. I pulled the pin. The little metal ring came free with that distinctive click that every sentient being in the galaxy recognizes. The click that says you have got about 4 seconds before a very bad day becomes your last day. The grenade started beeping, that rapid electronic pulse that counts down to detonation. Turvin went pale under his scales. Kless made a choking sound. Even I felt my stomach drop because, yeah, okay, maybe I had not thought this through as well as I should have, but the pin was pulled, the timer was running, and Riley Torres needed to understand that we were not playing games here. I threw the grenade at her feet. Not a gentle toss, a real throw with force, with commitment. The grenade hit the deck plating with a metallic clang, bounced once, rolled to a stop maybe half a meter from her boots. The beeping was louder now, faster, angry. Every instinct I had was screaming at me to run, but I held my ground because this was it. This was the moment where she broke, where she realized we were serious, where she paid up or got blown up. Riley Torres looked down at the grenade, looked back up at me, and smiled. Then she kicked it. Not a panicked kick, not a desperate attempt to get it away from her. A precise, controlled kick, the kind you use in sports, with follow-through and aim. The grenade sailed through the air in a perfect arc, beeping its electronic death song, spinning end over end, straight back at me. Time did this weird thing where it slowed down and sped up at the same time. I could see every rotation of the grenade. I could count the beeps. 3, 2, 1. It was going to land right at my feet, and then we were all going to die, and the last thing I would ever hear would be Riley Torres saying nice try, which is exactly what she said. Nice try. I dove. Torvin dove. Kless was already halfway to the exit. The grenade hit the deck where I had been standing, bounced, and I was scrambling on my hands and knees, clawing at it, trying to remember the emergency shutdown sequence. Was it 2 taps on the top or 3? Did you twist clockwise or counterclockwise? My hands were shaking. The beeping was so fast now it was almost a single continuous tone. I got my fingers around the grenade, found the emergency release twisted, and prayed to every god I did not believe in. The beeping stopped. Silence. Beautiful, perfect silence. The kind of silence that means you are not dead, you are not scattered across 300 cubic meters of station interior. You are still breathing and your heart is still beating and you are alive. I stayed on the floor for a few seconds, just breathing, feeling the cold deck plating against my face. Behind me I could hear Torvin whimpering. Kless was gone, probably halfway back to the residential section by now. Footsteps, boots, human boots, walking toward me with that same casual, unhurried pace. I looked up. Riley Torres was standing over me, hands in her jacket pockets, looking down with an expression that I can only describe as disappointed. You know what your problem is, she asked, conversationally. You think everyone is as scared of explosives as you are. You think waving a grenade around makes you dangerous. You think the threat is enough. I could not speak. My throat was too tight. She reached down, plucked the deactivated grenade from my hands like she was picking up a piece of trash, tossed it casually from hand to hand while she talked. I spent 3 years in the Sol System Defense Force, she continued. Explosive ordnance disposal. Do you know what that means? It means my job was to disarm things like this. Plasma grenades, fusion mines, antimatter charges, things that make this little firecracker look like a children's toy. I have disarmed live explosives while people were shooting at me. I have defused bombs that were literally in the process of detonating. You throwing a grenade at me, that is not a threat. That is not even interesting. That is just sad. She dropped the grenade on the deck next to my head. It clanged against the metal, harmless now, just another piece of equipment. Here is what is going to happen. You are going to get up. You are going to collect your friend, and you are going to leave. You are not going to come back. You are not going to bother me again. And you are definitely not going to tell anyone about this. Because if you do, everyone on this station is going to know that a human cargo hauler kicked your grenade back at you, and you nearly wet yourself. Are we clear? I nodded, could not do anything else. She was right about everything, and we both knew it. Of course I did not keep my mouth shut. How could I? The story was too big, too humiliating, too perfect. By the time I made it back to my quarters, half the station already knew. Kless had talked. Telvorn had talked. The docking master had reviewed the security footage and shared it with his friends, who shared it with their friends, and so on. By the next morning, Riley Torres was a legend. I was a joke. Station security showed up at my door around noon. Not to arrest me, which was almost worse, just to ask questions. The lead officer, a Throxian named Grell, kept trying not to smile while he took my statement. So? Just to be clear, he said, stylus hovering over his datapad. You pulled a live grenade, activated it, threw it at a human, and she kicked it back at you. Yes, I muttered. And she said, nice try? Yes. And then you nearly killed yourself trying to disarm your own grenade. Are we done here? Grell made a note. Station regulations require me to inform you that threatening other beings with explosives is illegal and carries a fine of 10,000 credits plus possible jail time. However, given that you nearly blew yourself up and the intended victim was entirely unharmed and is choosing not to press charges, we are going to let this go with a warning. Consider yourself warned. Vex Carr. Stay away from Captain Torres. After he left, I did what any sensible being would do. I looked up human military service, specifically, this explosive ordnance disposal thing that Riley had mentioned. What I found made me wish I had never gotten out of bed that morning. Humans, it turns out, have a very weird relationship with explosives. Most species treat bombs with appropriate fear and respect. Humans, they volunteer to work with them. They have entire military divisions dedicated to disarming explosives. They train for years to be able to walk up to active bombs and take them apart with their bare hands. They do this for fun. Well, okay, they do it for duty and honor and protecting others, but the point is they do it voluntarily. Riley Torres had not been exaggerating. 3 years in EOD meant she had probably disarmed hundreds of explosives, thousands, maybe. Things that would make my little plasma grenade look like a sparkler at a festival, but it got better. Or worse, depending on your perspective. I started hearing other stories. Other humans on the station sharing their own experiences. A human engineer named Marcus Chen who had manually vented a reactor that was going critical, walking through radiation that should have killed him in minutes. A human security officer named Kaiko Tanaka who had talked down an armed hostage taker by just walking toward him, slowly, calmly, while he fired warning shots past her head. There was a human doctor, Pavel Sokolov, who had worked in combat zones for 10 years. He told a story in the station bar about performing surgery while the building was being shelled, artillery rounds landing close enough to shake dust from the ceiling, and he just kept working because the patient needed him. Every human on the station had a story like this, not because they were special or unusual, because that was just what humans did. They ran toward danger instead of away from it. They stayed calm in situations that would make anyone else panic. They trained themselves to function in conditions that should be impossible to function in, and I had tried to scare one with a grenade. My reputation never recovered. How could it? Within 3 days, the entire criminal element of Station Theta 9 knew what had happened. The Korvath Syndicate did not officially fire me, but they stopped giving me assignments. Torvin joined a different crew. Kles left the station entirely. Said he was going to try honest work for a change. I stayed, because where else was I going to go? But everything was different now. I would walk into the bar, and conversations would stop. People would look at me, smirk and go back to their drinks. Someone had edited the security footage and set it to music, this bouncy, cheerful tune, that made the whole thing look even more ridiculous. It played on repeat on half the screens in the entertainment district. Riley Torres, meanwhile, became the most popular captain on the station. Other humans started seeking her out, wanting to share cargo manifests, trade routes, stories from home. Non-humans approached her carefully, respectfully, because everyone had learned the same lesson I had. Do not threaten the humans. Definitely do not threaten them with explosive. I saw her one more time about 2 weeks after the incident. I was at the docking ring trying to find some small-time work, anything to pay the bills. She was loading up the Defiant Spirit, getting ready to ship out. Her crew was with her, laughing about something, and I heard one of them, a big human male with a beard, say, "Tell them the grenade story." Riley laughed, and I felt my face burn. "Marcus, I have told that story 6 times today already." "Yeah, but it is a great story," another crew member said. "The look on his face when you kicked it back, that was priceless." "Poor guy," Riley said, and she actually sounded sympathetic. "He really thought that was going to work." I almost felt bad for him. Almost. They all laughed at that and I turned away before they could see me. Walked back toward the residential section with my hands in my pockets and my pride in tatters. Here is what I learned from all of this, and I am sharing it free of charge because maybe it will save someone else from making the same mistake I did. Humans are not scared the same way other species are scared. They have this thing, this combination of training and stubbornness and outright insanity, that lets them function in situations that should be impossible. You cannot intimidate them with threats because they have trained themselves to ignore threats. You cannot scare them with danger because they seek out danger on purpose. You cannot bluff them because they will call your bluff every single time and then they will laugh about it later. And whatever you do, whatever situation you find yourself in, whatever seemed like a good idea at the time, do not throw a grenade at a human, because they will kick it back. They will say something clever while they do it, and you will spend the rest of your life being the idiot who nearly blew himself up trying to scare a cargo hauler. Trust me on this one. I speak from experience. Riley Torres left Station Theta 9 3 days later, her cargo hold full, her reputation secure, probably heading off to some other station where some other fool would try to shake her down and learn the same hard lesson I did. I hope she is doing well. I hope her ship is running smooth, her cargo is profitable and her crew is happy. I really do, because she taught me something important, something I will carry with me for the rest of my life. Humans are not prey, they are not victims, they are not soft or weak or easily scared. They are survivors of a world that tried to kill them every single day for millions of years, and they came out on top through sheer determination and an apparently genetic inability to back down from a challenge. And if you forget that, if you make the mistake I made, then you deserve whatever happens next. The grenade story is still making the rounds, probably always will be, and every time someone tells it, every time someone laughs at the idiot who threw a live explosive at Riley Torres, I am reminded of that moment, the moment when the grenade sailed through the air beeping its countdown and she just smiled and kicked it back. "Nice try," she said. "Yeah, nice try."